Welcome to this week's deep dive video. It's going to look a little different for the next few weeks. I actually broke my mobile microphone, so we're going to be stuck in my office. I hope that works well for you guys. I hope you can hear and see me well. But for this next few weeks, we will be stuck here. Now, this week, we're looking at Mark chapter 8. That's where we were on Sunday. And I want us to take a step back from Peter's confession, this amazing moment where Jesus says, "But who do you say I am?" And Peter says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And it's so cool, and he's praised by Jesus, but then immediately after, he tries to tell Jesus how to live. He tries to tell Jesus what he should do. He says, "I see your plan, but no, it's not a good one. Let me give you another one." And Jesus actually calls him Satan. He says, "Get behind me, Satan." Now, before we get to that, some incredible things happened with Jesus. In verse 11 of Mark 8, it says this: "The Pharisees came and began to argue with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven to test him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit and said, 'Why does this generation seek a sign? Truly, I say to you, no sign will be given to this generation.' And he left them, got in his boat again, and went to the other side. Now, when they had forgotten to bring bread, and they had only brought one loaf with them in the boat, and he cautioned them, saying, 'Watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod.'" Now, the disciples hear this last part, "Watch out for the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod." And they think that Jesus is teasing them or rebuking them for forgetting the bread. They've totally missed the mark. Jesus clarifies right after, and he says, "Look, I just fed 5,000, 4,000 with tons of food left over. It's not about the food. You've missed the mark here." What he's saying is these Pharisees, they were coming to Jesus asking for a sign, not because they wanted their faith to be strengthened, not because they were beat down and they wanted to follow, but they were discouraged. These guys were putting Jesus to the test. They were saying, "If you're really that great, show us. If you are the Son of God, if you are this great teacher, show us." You know, this was a challenge to Jesus. This was not a pursuit of him. This was a challenge. And Jesus is warning his disciples, look, these guys look good. These guys have it all together on the outside, but look at what's in their intentions. Look at what's behind what they're doing. Look at their motives for these good works. And the Pharisees and the priestly system had really been corrupted by the time Jesus was around in this first century. With Herod and the Romans, the priestly system had actually been kind of polluted and become a political tool more than it was a representation of the order God had set for his people back in Leviticus. They had appointed people who didn't quite qualify to be the high priest and things. It had become, again, more of a worldly thing. And Jesus is saying, look at their hearts, look at their motives. Don't be caught off guard by their teachings. Don't be caught off guard by how they say, or it may look good at face value saying, "Show me a sign." But look at their heart in it. And this passage is contrasted with this next passage in verse 22. It says, "And they came to Bethsaida, and the people brought him a blind man and begged him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village. And when he had spit on his eyes, he laid his hands on them, and he asked him, 'Do you see anything?' And he looked up and said, 'I see people, but they look like trees walking.' Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he opened his eyes, and his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. And he sent him to his home, saying, 'Do not enter the village.'" You see, Jesus was confronted by the Pharisees who said, "Show us a sign." And then he was brought this man. He was brought this blind man who needed to be healed, this man who needed the power of Jesus. He wasn't challenging the power of Jesus. He was seeking the power of Jesus. And Jesus was faithful and healed this man. One of the big lessons here for his disciples was to look at the intention of what they're doing. Look deeper than just the face value, but be leery of people who claim to do things in the name of God, but their hearts or their intentions do not reflect that. Watch for those things. There are many smooth-talking preachers, there are many smooth-talking leaders in our world today who say a lot of the right things and look the right way. But when you look at their lives, when you look at some of the way they treat those around them, when you look at their hearts, and how they're living every part of their life, not just the Sunday mornings or not just the in front of people moments. When you begin to look at those things, you can see the heart. Be discerning when you're dealing with people, especially people who are leaders in our church and other churches, people who have a big stage. Be leery of that. Look at their hearts. There are great men and women out there who are serving the Lord, and God has blessed them with a platform. I'm not saying it's everyone, but be leery. Challenge what they say against scriptures. Even the Apostle Paul praised the Bereans, and he said that they were to be commended for weighing what he taught against scripture. If Paul the apostle can praise a church for challenging what he said and weighing it against scripture, we should do the same thing with everyone, myself, our elders, and the other ministers and men and women we allow to speak into our lives. Challenge it, weigh it against scripture. Don't just absorb something because it has a label of Christian on it. Christian movies, Christian radio, Christian talk shows, Christian books. Don't just let those things be absorbed into your life. Weigh them against scripture. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. I hope you're having a great week, and I hope to see you Sunday as we dive into Mark chapter 9.